Howdy y'alls, it's me, Dr. E again, this time here to help you out with our final module, Module 8. And unlike other modules, this one's really not about learning new concepts. It's really focused on course reflection, what you've gotten out of this class. And we've covered a lot over these 8 weeks together. Everything from race, human evolution, cultural relativism, ethnocentrism, culture change, gender, marriage, subsistence systems, politics and political organization, applied anthropology. Not to mention all the various subfields. Right? So yeah, we've covered a whole lot. Now, perhaps one of our most important concepts, all right, and we've discussed this at length, is cultural relativism. All right. And if you read the written portion of my announcements, I share some thoughts on it. In particular, cultural relativism, helps us develop an objective lens and cultural sensitivity to others, right? And that's an incredible value for not just understanding the world in which we live, but also you can turn that on yourself and find some really incredible things. I like to suggest that anthropology really kind of has a dual, what would be a good word? Dual function, like studying and understanding different peoples in the world around us. But you can also turn that anthropological critical perspective on yourself, and that is incredibly helpful. I'm constantly learning new things about myself when I use my anthropological perspective to examine my values, my behaviors, my practices. And by doing so, it kind of helps me understand where I fit in the larger scheme of things. I really think that's very important, understanding the world around us and also understanding ourselves and how we fit into it. Other key concepts like ethnocentrism are really important because, and again, that's something that you don't just, keep an eye out for that when looking at other people, but also turn that gaze inward, right, and check your own ethnocentrism, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We are all born and raised to believe that certain things are right, moral, and normal, okay? It's part of the process that allows us to identify with a particular culture. But when you actually turn that, your critical gaze inward toward yourself, it helps you identify your unique and specific cultural biases. I was raised in the world of science, right? Both of my folks were academics, and it severely colored how I see the world, okay? And so, that's useful in some ways. In some other ways, that also is a bias. I only look at things in particular ways, right? So when I do my research, right, and I write about what I do in the studies and stuff like that, recognizing my own cultural bias is kind of like the first step to help inform the reader of my unique perspective. Okay. Other concepts that we've talked about, like gender, right? I'm sure for a lot of you, you've been born and raised to understand gender in a particular way. probably a binary system where you have male equals maleness and female equals femaleness or femininity. But hopefully in the examples and reading about the concept of gender, you now understand that there's literally infinite ways to do gender. Okay, and there's several examples in our text and that I shared in my extra resources. So hopefully that gives you a better understanding of gender from an anthropological perspective. One big one that I'm particularly passionate about is subsistence systems. All right, we talked about political organization, bands, tribes, chiefdoms, and states. But a key thing associated with each of those political organizations is their means or mode of subsistence. And you tend to have foragers, pastoralists, horticulturalists, and agriculturalists. And all of that's related to the environment in which the group lives, right? So recognizing the relationships between culture and environment, I find to be particularly valuable. In fact, if you use that sort of perspective, it gives you incredible insight into all sorts of modern day conflicts and historic conflicts. Usually, one of the primary root causes of conflicts are resources, access to them, lack of them. So I hope these sorts of insights really help you, not just for you in pursuing anthropology, but also in for yourself, because so many of these things allow us to better understand ourselves, right? I mean, like what I was just talking about, subsistence systems and political organization. Like here in the U.S., we live in an industrialized, capitalistic, democratic republic, state-type society. How's that for a long, lengthy description, right? We have a unique industrialized food production system to maintain the population. And, currently we use a kind of a maximum yield approach. If you actually analyze it, the nutrition quality of the food is actually lower than other sorts of subsistence systems. But that's kind of counteracted by the fact that you can produce massive crops to feed large populations. Okay. I could go on and on, but I just wanted to throw out some ideas to help you think about key concepts that we've covered in this class, their value, how you can, use them for understanding the world around us, as well as understanding ourselves. So, with that said, let me move on to your final assignment. You have a journal assignment, your image of anthropology. All right. So you want to start with searching the internet for a Creative Commons licensed image. All right. You can check the link of Creative Commons, what that means, in the written portion of this announcement. And then you're going to explain why you chose it. All right, and be sure to include your image in your journal entry, okay? Don't just write about it, actually. Present it, and then, the first key thing to address is explain why you think the image works and why you chose it, all right? Do you see yourself using one or more of the subfields of anthropology in the future? Which ones and why? Be specific and use illustrative examples, all right? That's kind of like the key to success with all of our sorts of assignments, right? Identifying the concept and, explaining it and giving examples that show that you actually understand it, right? So after you pick your image and explain why you chose it and why, and if you see yourself using one or more of the subfields in the future, then you want to move on to the next part, and that is take a moment to compare your image with the article that you chose for the first impressions of anthropology discussion in Module 1. All right, so we're trying to bring this full circle. All right. Um, yeah. Does anything surprise you about your choices, right? Your choice of the article and your current choice of the image, right? Um, and if it doesn't surprise you, that's fine, but I need you to definitely explain why or why not. All right? And so that's pretty open-ended, right? That's really up to you to make your argument there. Lastly, now that you've acquired this new wealth of anthropological knowledge, how has it impacted your life? Have you internalized these concepts, and you now have a new perspective that allows you to see the world around you in a new light, right? Be specific and use illustrative examples, right? These are from your personal life. You don't need to go find scholarly sources or anything like that. But yeah, definitely don't skimp on that. It's important, to see that you got these things out of the course. And you follow that up with, explaining how it has changed your perspective. And of course, as always, use appropriate citation. Right? So, for example, if you're talking about cultural relativism, define it, right? Cite our text. That shows that you have a good understanding. And when you define it, don't directly quote it, paraphrase it, put it in your own words. That shows me how you've internalized the concept, okay? I hope that makes sense. And of course, if you have any questions, any concerns, anything at all, I'm here to help you out. Text me, email me, call me. I'm fairly available since I work from home, and chances are I can help you immediately with your question or concern, so you're not hung up and spinning your wheels and getting frustrated, because I know how that feels, right? And one last thing before I sign off, I just want to thank y'all for a great term. It's been really wonderful to work with y'all. It's one of my my selfish joys that I get out of doing what I do. Being able to work with an incredibly diverse spectrum of students and share my passion for anthropology with y'all and show its value. I also believe in supporting students in the class and outside of the class. So in the written portion of my announcement, I have included my personal email, right? And I know the course is about to end, but keep that contact information. My cell phone's still the same, right? So you got that already. But this personal email will allow you to reach out to me anytime that you think I can be of assistance, right? And there's no expiration date on that, all right? I have students that I've worked with 10 plus years ago that are still in regular communication with me. So I'm kind of offering myself as, as a professional and academic, someone that you can ask informal advice from. If you have questions about particular anthropological concepts or case studies, things like that, I'm totally there to help you out with it. So, yeah. It's been a blast, and I hope you all have continued academic success into the future. Take care.